Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Fellowship with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. So, tonight, we're progressing some more on Vigour. Alone, I'll get to that in a moment. Last time, or rather, since last time, I've of course played the game more on my own. So I have a lot of, I have gotten significant amounts of gear. The notable things that might be worth mentioning, like if you've played Fellowship and you're like, so what do you have that I might not have, is as you progress through, of course, Contender and Adept, you will start to pick up, well, in Contender already you'd pick up relics with abilities on them, but once you get into Adept, or at the very least with a new Adept weapon, and thank you for celebrating 21 months as part of the Cult of the Pink Cat. Thank you so much. Good evening, but loud. Is that weapons will have abilities. These abilities are typically ridiculously strong relative to what else you can do. Like, for instance, if I use the ability that my weapon has, it tends to be one of, if not the highest damage thing I can do as a healer. Which is crazy. Now, to give some examples, the relics that I have, one of them gives like a party-wide mitigation. It's like, for the Final Fantasy XIV players, it's like the ranged physicals, tactician, or troubadour or shield samba in terms of like power. It's pretty wild. And then I also have a relic that allows me to rest someone. Like, the idea is that it is to be used in combat, but technically you could rest someone after the combat if that's what you want to do. Not really any point in doing that, but you could. And then my weapon basically shoots out like some sort of like chain lightning effect that bounces between enemies and allies, and the heal is usually like insanely big for anything that isn't a tank. It's still pretty potent for a tank, but the main thing is that it heals everyone in the party for a huge amount. And it also does a ton of damage. Like, just from this, it does somewhere between 80 and 100,000 damage, like that, once every minute, assuming there are 4 enemies. So those would be the things that you're like, well, I don't have that, if you haven't gotten these particular things, right? Aside from that, it's just, you know, talents and the actual abilities that I have. And I have pretty much like a cookie cutter Vigour build, so the only difference might be, oh, well, I don't have that many talent points, or maybe you chose something different. But the key things is I can use my some of my rune spenders as AoE, and my Radiant Blast extends the duration of them, and they're stronger. And I heal every time I gain a rune. And my greater heal is shorter cast time. That is like, that's kind of the cliff notes. Now, that is pretty much it. Now, the reason why I've sort of left the title of the stream in a little bit of a slightly more confusing position than just saying it's straight solo queue is that last time we did this, some asked if they could join in. And my perspective on that now is I'm trying to progress where I'm going. So the game plan is like high Adept, so like 4, 5, 6, or the capstone dungeon called Heart of Tosari. And that is something that people could join in to do if they want to. And that's pretty much the plan. When I'm queuing, I will pretty much try my best to pick whatever the rest of the team chooses. I don't mind whether we go for the highest stuff. I'm pretty sure with my item level that I will only be offered the things that I just mentioned unless the queue is really long. But that's the plan. My progression so far is such that where I'm going is trying to do Heart of Tosari better. Now, with that said, with that said, hey Teldemar, hey Seros, hey Zaf, hey Lana, hey Matthew, hey Mandalore, hey Kat, hey Jen Monica, and hey Iris. Hope you're all doing very well. Mandalore says, from my short experience in Adept as a tank, I got a feeling that healing might be the hardest thing to do in the game. What do you think? I would say tank and healer have difficulties in two different ways. For the tank, the difficult part is like the hardest part, weirdly, to me at least, is routing. Because you want to be sure that you get, you know, the percent you need, but you also want to be sure you get it in an efficient manner, but you also need to do it in a way where the team you have can handle it, which means that one path that works perfectly fine for one group might not work at all for a different group. That is, of course, like, it's not that complicated. Most of the time you'll find, like, the route that works, and you'll just do that. And then the problem is, if you get players that can't do it, then what do you do? Or if you get players that can do more than that, do you push it? And things like that. There are also some modifiers, like the Empowered Minions one, that can force you to change your mind. If you're used to doing a dungeon in a specific way, that specific modifier might force you to change paths. Maybe. On the healer department, though, if your DPS and your tank isn't doing what they can do smartly enough, then sometimes that can make it look like the healer is bad. Like, for example, in some dungeons, specifically like Stormwatch, and I would say Everdawn Grove, also Sailor's Abyss. Just as some examples, there are enemies that have an interruptible cast that either does a ludicrous amount of single target damage or a ludicrous amount of AoE damage. And if that's not interrupted, if you're an exceptional healer, you might be able to save it. But if you can't, honestly, that's the DPS and tank's fault, because they didn't interrupt it. But the DPS and maybe even the tank might not realize that or care. They'll be just be like, that's weird, why did we die to that? Whereas, like, we didn't die to that last time, no, because someone interrupted it, or because maybe the healer was exceptional in that run. Like, things like that. So, as a healer, you are more likely to find yourself in a position where it's hard to explain why it's hard. Because what really makes it hard is that you both have to deal with the unavoidable stuff, but you also have to compensate for other players being idiots sometimes. Cat says, I remember my Sylvie weapon being 30% of my DPS. Yeah, exactly, something like that. If I use my Nature's Fury on a fight, it's like on a pack, it's usually my highest damage or my second highest. Selma says, where did you guys end up the last pre-made stream? I think well, actually, I think I'd be able to check that. I'm pretty sure we finished on Untimed Sailor's Abyss 4, or actually, no, I remember. We finished on the game servers crashing as we were just about to do Urag Markets 4, Adept 4 on time. And then we just, like, the servers, like, resolved themselves, but at that point we're like, well, look at the time, we're done. But we got to, like, Adept 4, but since then we've had some restructuring. I'm the healer now. Telma says, I had a pretty bad time in the +7 Adept capstone with a team of item level 80 to 100 people. I have a feeling, gonna be honest, if I queue in and people choose Heart of Tosari and there are people below item level 100, we might have to dodge that? Because I think it's all, like, if it's first timers to it, and it's probably first timers to it, it's hard enough at item level 110 for first timers. It's like maybe a little too excited to prog. Say Sip, hope you're doing well. Matthew says that's faster than my first Tosari. Really? I feel like we were really slow, and I think we wiped like half a dozen times to the final boss. Also, I recognize the memes from both Cat and Sip in the chat, but I'm just gonna let you know, in my alone time of queuing a bit, what they're describing is actually pretty good. Which is a little cursed when you think about it. But yeah, let's start with just a regular queue. Oh, fantastic. Underpopulated for healers, so my queue might be fast. You can yell at me to start interrupt. That's true, and that also helps a lot. But you also at least try to interrupt the things that matter. Like, genuinely, Sunday last week, I had a chain of 4 Adept dungeons in a row where we would wipe because someone didn't interrupt something or someone stood in the bed too much. And then the person who stood in the bed would leave, forcing the team to disband. 4 times in a row, and it was every time, it was something where, like, maybe I could have saved it if I was, like, God tier. Admittedly, I'm not. Sorry. But instead of learning or, you know, staying and trying again, it's like, well, we're not timing this, so what's the point? And I'm there like, we could have gotten loot that you can scrap for gold, which could give gear upgrades, so you could do better next time. And we could have learned it. Oh, there you go. I mean, this might work for Tosari, I think. But I'm going to wait and see what others pick. The tank wants a 5. I don't mind. I'm guessing that they can see that the Mara is a little lower. And they'd rather not deal with that. And the thing is, like, this is part of the, like, this is a little bit of the awkwardness of putting together a group like this, is that sometimes people will, like, leave if they don't get the thing they want. So if I see 2 players go, oh, we're doing Stormwatch 5, and I then pick Heart of Tosari, there's a possibility they'll be like, oh, well, if you think we do Heart of Tosari, then let's go. But it's equally possible that they'll just scoop. Coltus, you guys are absurdly overgeared for Tosari. Yeah, I saw that too. Like, this and this should be fine, right? This should also be fine, but they wanted this, so I chose this. I agree. Is this just gonna fizzle? Fantastic.
Rage and thunder!
Oh, well, there you go. The reroll. Okay, this looks like it might just be great. Single pull. Well, you can't actually pull more because of the wall. Hey, Odell. Hope you're doing well.
Twin souls, untethered.
Oh, whoops. I should have moved further in. When you see the big cast that you're afraid of almost go through, you don't know if the DPS are gonna interrupt it, so you book it. I cast my ultimate magic spell. Book. Fantastic. Are they playing in French? Are we waiting for something? Something worth mentioning about this boss is that those orbs, you don't have to pick them up, but it'll be a real mess if you let them all hang out, because if they hit the boss, then it hurts a lot. And you really don't want the tank to have any of those while we're on the topic. Uh-oh. Because the debuff it gives makes the receiver take more damage, just in general.
White Shaper 4!
Imagine not tanking the boss right next to one of the faucets just spouting out things you need to intercept. Don't know if there was a better place, but it didn't seem like the right one. I'll say Ash Dave. Hope you're doing well, and thank you. And hey, Danzenbergen. Hope you're doing well. I mean, I guess we're good on time, question mark?
War up!
Ah, didn't make it.
Twin souls unbound.
Guess that's also a way to do it.
Tremble before my wrath.
That rhyme is gonna die if they don't move out of the way soon. One third of the time out. We have I feel like we're still with it on time. But our tank does have to start moving. And possibly pull a little bit more, yeah.
Winter, protect me.
This is not WoW, Danzenbergen. This is Fellowship. But the gameplay is for these dungeons are very heavily inspired by WoW. No, the thing that makes me concerned about the timer, Cole, is that it feels like as we're progressing, the tank is going slower and slower. You get what I mean? Don't think there's really any reason to do this. this specific flame, since it just opens the door back. Oh no, I said something to the tank, now they're stun locked. That's what I mean.
Run away before I bleed you dry. Shaper's war!
Maybe body language isn't the correct language. There's a pack down there.
Ward up.
That spot is going to be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it is. We'll have to deal with that campfire situation later.
Twin swords.
Light Shaper's war! Gaze upon the void between stars! Run away, little worm!
I love big Uga's big flame. I love it. I love that it doesn't get interrupted very much. I don't know what the tank is waiting for. But that's like another 20 seconds we didn't need to waste. Yay! Yep, let's point the tank buster on the healer. Yep, thanks. I guess I should have just gotten out of the way. I didn't expect them to suddenly spin it like that, though.
Twin souls. Unleashed.
We're going to die because no one's interrupting the thing that needs to be interrupted. You still need to interrupt the thing, though.
Light Shaper's War!
Oh, they kept going. There's a patrol, that's true. We're not gonna escape that patrol now. They know me. Hope you're doing well.
Bear witness to winter's
I mean,
wrath.
Cole, I think this timer was lost the moment that it seemed like our tank needed to be told go ahead every time they needed to pull something. That was when it was over. I know it feels like that might not have been when it was over, but that was when it was over.
The cosmos! Jesus!
New tank syndrome of being cautious? I don't know! To get this far in the game as a tank, I feel like you'd have to have learned to just go for it. Because you can't wait for to be told to go every time. You straight up just can't. Soak too many ads on the second boss? That's possible. I wasn't paying that much attention to how many others were soaking. Oh, that's a cursed position.
Hold the light! Behold, the light is with us!
Yeah, this is it. It's not gonna work when we're that spread out. Yeah, the tank mentioned the bit about not just pushing the boss past 50% without planning for it. I think in that specific instance, players were more focused on maybe, even though it's not possible, maybe we could make the timer anyway. Now that that's no longer a factor, we might be able to do it in a more controlled manner. Did I accidentally double barrier or something?
Winter, protect me!
I used that on the wrong person, I think. Why did they take so much damage in particular?
My ward shields me.
Before annihilation. Light Shaper's war.
Doesn't he keep making Chosens until he dies? Isn't this basically more like a closer to a DPS race?
Twilight shrouds me. Light is with us. Light Shaper's
I used that on the wrong person.
Winter, protect me.
There's another wave.
It's time. Rise, bees of the endless hay. Rise, undying Lord. Rise, Mordachmon, and show us your fury.
Oh, I don't know if I have the resources to do that again. I don't if the tank is gonna basically raw dog all that damage from the boss. Mid, anyone? Whew. Oh, a gem. And something with a gem socket. Huh. Hey Neo, hope you're doing well. Mids aren't real, they can't protect you. And that's a little bit what it felt like. Do I not already have any Dark Prophecy stuff? Oh, I do. Don't really want a ton of haste though, but Yavi, hope you're doing well, and thank you. Unfortunately not quite timed, but hey, we got dungeon raiding for it this time. Chicken, one of the chosen. Yeah, I heard that, but I don't have the like. I have the chicken thing, but it's a pretty low item level, and I feel like I might not be the best person to carry it because I always forget it. But maybe should have been me. I think it's fun, Yavi. The main reason I haven't gotten further is primarily due to just not having time. Ishire, hope you're doing well. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, the channel is very Final Fantasy XIV as well, so you're welcome to talk about that too. I often use references of Final Fantasy XIV to explain things, even on the Fellowship streams. But I'm glad that my videos have helped you. Thank you so much. It seems like we might have AFKs in the team, so I guess we're not going again. I guess we'll have to regroup instead. And then I have a moment to check this out, I guess. How much would it cost to upgrade this? How much does it cost if I were to scrap this? Don't know if I'd actually get enough to fully upgrade that. Actually, I'm probably not going to use this. So we could start with that. And then... we can. Okay, well then we do this and this. For a start. And we can do this. Well, I imagine what they what is meant by that, Neo, is is the Mythic Plus quote unquote scaling style, not necessarily the amount of interrupting, but ranged physicals have head grace, which is the same as interject. But that's like a problem to cover if that mattered and they needed DPS to be able to interrupt like universally, then that's something that could be addressed. Like they could just make that happen. Let's see. How is it you put gems in equipment? This is the first time I had to do that. Zav says there was a ready check, everyone waited and then did a pull timer for Zande in Crystal Tower. That's quite something. Outdoor says you can just drag it from the gem menu to the equipment. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I guess... Itanuki, hope you're doing well. I guess crit is what I want. But I don't know about that sealed fate effect, if that's what I want. That seems a little... It's fine. But it makes it a little scary when people drop below. I guess that's what we'll do. But let's try that. There you go. I'll keep this, because the set bonus itself might make it worth it, even though haste is not exactly amazing for Vigour. Congratulations, Tanuki! That's awesome! Right, so, I have a feeling that we might land in there again. Let me just see what else we can do to make ourselves a little bit stronger. You know, whether we need it or not, might as well make it as easy for ourselves as possible, right? And oh, that looks really strange. Let me just see. It just says that I have 10% more crit chance than I do. But it only applies when the target has more than 50% health. That's a little weird. Anyway, before we queue again, I will be right back. And in the meantime, manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Tanuki says, when I look at FF log, should I look at DPS, RDPS, or pass? The pass percent gives a pretty solid indication of how well you performed relative to other players of your job. So, like, it's a little hard to tell how valuable your DPS is, but it's a lot easier to go, well, you did more damage than so-and-so percent of other players. It's not always perfect, because sometimes there can be some sort of other explanation. Like, if you were on some... Like, if you had to deal with something that could be a DPS loss, then that can be a factor. But it is, like, it's usually pass percent, like, pass value is often the easiest way to tell, I would say. But Cole, you said we spent too much time on soaking ads in on the second boss. As I understand, those mobs have a built-in, like, 10% reflect. Not necessarily, Tanuki. It's pretty normal, at least at this point in the tier, for your first clear to be very low pass, especially if you're new to Savage. Because those mobs that spawn there on the second boss has some... I believe they reflect 10% of the damage you deal. I feel like it can be suddenly scary to like not soak very many, but I can also see how you will end up wasting a lot of time if you don't just, you know, attack the boss. How's it, Bobamet? Hope you're doing well. But I do feel like we did lose it, especially on the wipe on the final boss. But I think we also lost a lot of unnecessary time loss because our tank hesitated a lot of places. And while we were in Heart of Tosari and got ready to go again, Adept got a lot more DPS in. Shirei says, is 14 extremely pass focused as well? Not in that way. Because the best gear is often gotten from Savage, it's not necessarily a clear sign that a player bad if their pass is bad when they're new in a tier. So it becomes a little complicated, but some players get very caught up in passes. But the general idea is there, Shirei. The problem is essentially that a lot of players don't actually really understand what's going on behind the scenes on passing. So they won't understand the nuance of what people are mentioning here, that, well, technically your pass is being compared with people that have better gear than you and things like that. Although, you know, if you're looking for someone that can pump a certain amount of damage, then the pass number is perfect because your gear would impact that factor, right? If your gear's bad, so you can't compete with those that pass higher, I mean, it doesn't matter that you're really good if your gear is the problem. But usually, if you're really good, you can probably pass decently even in not that great gear. Are there item level passes too to compare? I don't believe there is in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't believe so. But that is indeed a way to overcome that problem. That you could just be like, well, obviously, you just put people in brackets of equal item level or equivalent item level. But I think maybe the reason why they don't in Final Fantasy XIV is that like the range of expected item levels in a given raid tier is relatively small. I'll say Bokaj, hope you're doing well. But yeah, for a lot of players, it should be perfectly fine to only focus on pass stuff for oh yeah, we should probably not be doing Harutasari with a tank that low. And someone doesn't want to go at all. We have 2 audios.
presence defiles this place.
It's a lot of AoE damage coming up. Yeah, I get that, Shirei. The thing is, it gets a little complicated where passing becomes relevant, mainly, is that sometimes you straight up need to just, like sometimes someone just isn't strong enough. That can be the case sometimes, and if you bring any and everyone in those cases, then, like, it might simply mean that you don't get to play at all, right? Which then can lead into some, like, a little bit of a passing. But it's as I understand, it's a lot less than what is happening over in WoW. If that makes sense. Hey, Free Live, hope you're doing well. This tank scares me.
My shield, iron wall.
Light shapers war!
Razzle dazzle.
Bleeding Grove, prepare your deed!
Oh. Well.
Your presence defiles this place.
Burn, baby, burn.
See, the funny thing is, Boomermed, what scares me is that it feels like the tank is taking way more damage than certain other tanks I've had. So I'm like, feeling like I'm teetering on a wipe.
My shield home.
War up!
However, based on the fact that one of the audios was like item level 280, I think, I'm like 90% certain that the tank is queuing with them. So there's at least that.
The This forest bleeds. Behold the light.
I will not break.
Son dies screaming. This
Nice.
only leads to greater suffering.
Okay, hope you're doing well. I have no clue what I'm looking at. You're looking at Fellowship. Basically, dungeon spam the game. The damage done meter looks really funny because it's like just one person. That's sometimes how it is with a DPS. What is the role of the person that had less damage than you? A tank. But there was also like a 70 item level difference. Which probably affected things. Just I have a feeling that it mattered. And this is a very interesting boss. With something like that, yeah. Should I basically every now and then the I call it either the multicorn or the dog with antlers, but yeah, the moose essentially is used to destroy one of the totems that spawn throughout the fight or interrupt the boss when they're casting something dangerous. And you just have to protect it because it can take damage from mechanics. You can also heal it if it comes to that. But yeah, basically all of the mechanics you need to make sure are not pointed at the moose. Zane Ozereld, hope you're doing well. Mandalorian says, I remember tanks being very popular in MoP when they did the most damage, and one of it would help with Q times. You see, the problem is, if tank, like the way tanks did the most damage in MoP kind of made things a little busted. But I don't think they were as popular as you might remember. You also have to remember that in MoP, there wasn't really like difficult dungeon content to do, which meant that you needed way less tanks than you do now for instance Mythic Plus. So it might inflate the that feeling. Life says, what are the differences between the healer characters and tank characters other than maybe different rotations? Is the one guy the DPS healer and one tank better at self-healing? The Helena, the tank we just had, is like she has more absorbs, but she does slightly more damage as far as I understand. Meiko does slightly less damage, supposedly has significantly more mitigation, that's like a balance issue you could say, and has healing. Between the healers, the one I'm playing is like mostly upfront healing, while the other's more healing over time. Did you see that? So just reiterating the way to the way the queuing system works is you get paired up with like somewhat equally geared players, and then you get 3 dungeons to choose from. And at the moment, the way players that want something specific deal with not getting that is leaving. Because there isn't any punishment for leaving at present. Which means that if you get 3 players that want the capstone dungeon called Haratosari, but the 4th one doesn't, then they'll just leave. Maybe capstone dungeon could have its own queue, right? Genuinely, that one takes like around 3 times longer, like at face value, 2 to 3 times longer. So if someone is like, I have time for a quick 1 boss dungeon, like 10, 12 minutes. I don't have 30 plus minutes in case it goes overtime on the 3 boss dungeon. Then they have to dodge if the party wants something else. We managed to agree on a dungeon, everyone. You heard it here first. The team managed to find equal ground, and now we can play the game. The problem with going, oh, tanks should do the most damage so that people want to play it, is like, that's not how you get tanks. That's how you get players that want to do the most damage. Like, essentially, the problem you're addressing is that there is simply less people in the world that want to play the tank role. And by making the tank role essentially DPS again, you're just getting players that aren't actually interested in tanking, but hey, if you're offering... Cat says, if the tank does the most damage, why would you play DPS? The way that they made that work in World of Warcraft is that the way tanks got their damage power... I don't know what they're pinging. Oh, the ranged mob. The way tanks got their damage output is that they would gain attack power from the damage they took. So they would only be the one that did the most damage while actively tanking stuff. So that meant that you could only have 1 or 2 tanks doing crazy numbers. But you would still end up in the specific situation where you might have players playing tank, not because they want to tank, but because it does a lot of damage, right? Might be better for the game still? I don't think so.
Lightsaber's war!
Just personally, I don't think so. And I want it to be known that I was a tank main in MoB. I was also a tank main in expansions after and before that, but I was a tank main in MoB, and I am saying it was a bit broken. We shouldn't have had that, honestly. We shouldn't have had that in the first place.
Flames shield me.
And I also reiterate that the fact that you didn't actually need that many tanks back then, relative to DPS and to some degree healers, may have inflated how well that solution worked. Whoops. Like basically what I'm getting at is if most content I can't heal you from straight up just standing in the fire. They straight up stood in the blade storm and then just died. Oh, add to that, Mandalore, I will say the solution they changed it to in Ward was not it. Like, I preferred in Legion when they changed it to be, that you don't gain power from tanking stuff. Like, once it removed the damage value to it, it just felt weird. That your self-healing capacity was directly linked to you taking damage was a little strange. Oh boy. I feel like there was a lot of damage that could have been avoided there that just wasn't. But basically what I'm getting at is that genuinely in mob where tanks had the potential to do the most damage was really funny, but admittedly very, very poorly, balanced. Hey Shaq, hope you're doing well. I don't know what the point of pulling like this is. The ranged mobs? I don't know if the tank can't see it, but like, I'm legitimately getting the aggro from keeping them alive. Can they not see ranged mobs, or what's the problem here?
They strike shadows.
We didn't get enough percent. We're not gonna time this.
Lightshaber's war!
From still earth, the wind rises.
How much did you skip? That's a fantastic question. A lot, clearly. Hey, Rena. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's something like that, but I think due to other reasons, we wouldn't have made it anyway. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but like, 3 minutes ago, we did this pull while the tank just let the ranged guys just hang out and shoot at me. For the whole pull. So I wonder if this is even possible.
Lightshaber's war!
Did they just elect to take that? I can't make it backpedaling, so I guess I'll just take it instead of turning around.
Shield me.
Shadows.
Behold the light! Order!
Oh boy. Hey Liv, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I have to say, I'm impressed that that tank has gotten this far with that, like, playing like that. Renna says, are relics just lucky drops? I'm still using white relics. Yeah, they're just as as far as I know, they're just as likely to drop as other items. So eventually you'll get them. If you're really bothered by it, items like the unstable mithril and imbued mithril can help you to like re-roll a different gear piece to maybe get a relic. That can sometimes help. But sometimes when you're initially getting your gear, it can take a bit before you actually get those. It's actually... I will say, it would be nice if the white relics just did something to compensate for that. I don't know what they would do, because it's like... Who knows, maybe the ability they had would actually be helpful, and then it would kind of suck that they would be maybe exclusive to the white ones, unless they just do the same as one of the irregular relics. But yeah, all of the gear is basically just random. So there are some things you can do to like influence your loot by like re-rolling stuff, but for the most part, yeah. Yeah, last night, when we went into Heart of Tosari for the first time, I was informed after the fact that I didn't realize it initially, but my team basically had one person, or actually two players that still had like item level 75, granted, but white wrists. And I think one had white shoulders, also 75. But like, you just have to keep going until you get them, essentially. Which can be kind of unlucky. It's not like you need like everything to be equally high item level to be able to progress, but it still sucks, right? It still sucks. And a wrong talent. Oh yeah, that too. There's quite a lot of quite a wide range of different skill levels in a solo queue. Mandalorian says, as a tank, my YOLO pulls were good enough for contenders, so I had to learn ones from guides and adepts. Well, I mean, you can always try something new. Just saying, you can always try something new. Although I do understand, especially when you're just queuing in, that some players are extremely twitchy on the leave button. So it might be scary to try something that you don't know whether it works or not. And another way, you know, of course, by just doing what others do, you are sure that what you're doing is at least something that other players believe in. But I totally know that feeling. The main thing that I don't like about playing tank is then you have to be the guy that knows the routes. But on account of that, when I'm playing healer, like, unless you pull something that is completely idiotic, like obviously no one would be able to do that pull, or you pull exceptionally little so it just gets confusing, then I will not question it. We will try what you did. If I wanted to influence what we're pulling, then I would have been playing tank, right? But if we're not pulling enough or we're not pulling fast enough, like we're just standing around, then I'll be like, go, move it, pull something. Because when I'm sitting on full MP, then you're not, like, we're gaining nothing by just standing around. Unless we're waiting for a patrol or something. But aside from that, like, genuinely, my perspective is, you're the tank, so you figure that out. If I wanted to choose what route you were doing, then I would have been the tank. Wall to wall the entire dungeon. Mandalorian says, I mean, I was something like that. Tank pulls something poorly, fail timer, then research a route after. So I will just say, Mandalorian, the fact that we got to the end and then didn't have enough percent was like, that sucks. The problem I had with that run was that we had a lot of preventable deaths that were at least partly thanks to the tank not doing mechanics correctly or not doing the whole, you know, pulling correctly. By which I mean, you saw that pack where I was tanking 2 ranged mobs for them. And when we finally had cleared the other mobs, instead of going, oh, whoops, and like run over and pick those up, they kind of like half-seas pulled one of them and went to pull more. To be fair, the Adios in the party was like, group them all together. And some swear words in the chat as that was being said, so I'm guessing the tank was like, oh, pull all of them, noted, and just ran to grab more. So like that, there was a bit of confusion there as well, but the main problem was that it seemed like the tank was failing at basics, right? Like at basic things that you kind of need to know. And that you wouldn't expect someone in Adept to make. Like, reminder that to get to Adept, you do have to complete Sithral's Fall, a specific 3-boss dungeon, in time. So that tank managed to do that. Like, at the very least, they managed to do that. Solo queue dead. I've scared all the tanks away, guys. Is the rank tied to the job you play? Yes, your rank is tied to your specific character. You need to progress this much on each individual character. The thing you can do to catch yourself up faster is that all of this, the currencies and materials, and your gems, I believe, are shared. At least this, I can't actually remember if your gems are shared, come to think of it, but your currencies and materials are shared, 100%. And as you progress, you will unlock better catch-up gear. So like once you reach Adept, you will be able to buy this gear, which starts at 75 for your ults. And once you hit Champion, I believe, yep, you will be able to buy 135 gear. So like you will be able to like rush through the gearing process faster the second time around if you have progressed further. But you still need to do the dungeon correctly. And there's also, like, gear syncing, so let's say someone has completed Champion as a DPS, but they're completely hopeless as a tank. Like, absolutely derp Meister 6000 for tanking. And, like, they wouldn't be able to, like, fully item level the Sithral's Fall. Like they would still need to beat it mechanically as well. It's possible that like a really strong healer, maybe some solid DPS, would be able to compensate for a tank that just has no idea what they're doing. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm shocked about some of the players you meet in Adept. But also, as Mandalorian said, there are some cases where, like, you can get away with either surprisingly small pulls in Contender because the packs die fast enough that you can still make the timer, or you can get away with, like, ludicrously big pulls in Contender that just don't work in Adept. And in both cases, as the tank, which is basically the one conducting the train, it has to be you, that can be a huge challenge to, like, move on from. And when I say it has to be you, it's because, so if you come from Final Fantasy XIV especially, face pulling is not really something you do. Face pulling is when you pull a pack by just running into it. Like, you don't attack it, you just run into it. You don't really do that in dungeons and such in Final Fantasy XIV because it doesn't actually generate anything. It just produces the enmity list and puts you at the top. So if anyone else just breathes in the area of those mobs, then they have aggro instead. So you don't want to do that. But in Fellowship, the act of entering the threat list, which is enmity threat, I believe it's called threat in Fellowship, places you, like, gives you a huge chunk of threat. So being the first is an important detail. So it has to be you. Also true, Cat. If you could mount in dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV, face pulling might be a thing. And just don't worry, everyone in Champion is great. I think Cole yesterday referred to Champion as Elo Hell. Oh, I can't do that, as it turns out. Apparently that's pushing it. Oh, right, they do that. Can I do it now? No, I straight up am not allowed to as far as I can see. It just doesn't let me. Seems to be out of combat. Right, that would be it. I thought, based on the explanation from others, that what it took is simply being far enough away.
Lightsaber's War!
Yeah, the first one, I guess it worked because I hadn't touched the enemies yet. But I was aware of the possibility of that trick because I had been informed that that is something some people do to do the dungeon faster. So, for those that don't know, for the curious, the way this fight works is basically the orbs jumping around in the arena. If they touch the boss specifically, then they do raid-wide damage, like a lot of damage. If they touch anyone else, then it builds like a stack of a debuff that makes you take more damage for a bit. If you take fire damage, like that big sacrificial pyre thing that appeared over there, then it removes it immediately. So you can like forcibly reset your stacks that way. But that's the fight. Like it's just ping pong balls that you have to have your tank dodge.
Give me everything you've got. Behold, the light is with us. You're too late. You have already lost. Ward up!
We didn't wait until you reach the football boss? Oh boy. I'll say I'm looking forward to all of the bosses. Like a big motivator for me to like keep pushing, you know, aside from, you know, you also always want to like progress, right? Is that the capstone dungeons are new each time. Like I want to see it. I mean, yesterday when it took us an hour to do this dungeon, we technically procced it blind. The only thing we really knew was like really minor things, like we had randomly been told offhandedly that the second boss can be a little bit of a DPS race and things like that. But that was it. Man. That's the spirit, Liv. I hope you don't regret it. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. We're fine. Tips to someone starting out. Take your time in the in the stronghold when you get in. Really like feel out the characters before settling on one, because it might feel like you're like you can easily switch, but you might feel compelled to stick with one for a while. So, you know, try out the different characters before dedicating to one. Aside from that, like, take note of like a lot of the oops. Please, for all that is holy. I can't. That was awkward.
Light Shaper's War!
Dwarf moment. But a lot of the things that I have probably taught in my Final Fantasy guides and such, Liv, are things that are also helpful in this game. Like using your toolkit, interrupting, stunning, using what you have matters. So if you took all those things to heart, then you should be pretty good. You should be pretty fine. I don't think so, Mandalore. The whole point of there being a timer is that you only truly graduate from the capstone dungeon when you're good enough that you can beat it in a reasonable time frame. Like that's the point.
Light Shaper's War!
I know it's a little brutal, but that is how it is. Like, that's how it is. I don't think... Like, I think it's fine that I don't get to go to champion before I'm good enough that I can beat this dungeon in a reasonably quick time frame. It's only fair. I think it'll be fine that I'm a little late to the next poll. Now, the scary thing there is I wasn't actually sure how they managed that, so I just had to guess at mount speed how they got past those bags.
The shadows hunger.
You lost no HP till you got there. That's also true. Did we get all of them? Huh.
War up!
Look at these DPS heroes. They both ran to stop the other ad from, like, we needed like, preferably a ranged interrupt. We don't have one, but we had 2 DPS just go for it. Hey Ravos, hope you're doing well. Whoops.
Endures as winds enact vengeance.
Hammer time! War up!
Oh boy.
Trust.
Now it starts to get really crazy.
Behold, the light is with us.
Twin souls, unleashed.
Light. This is the best you can do.
Nice. Yeah, I heard all others say that too, Bokaj, and I kind of agree. Like, it's a little bit like... It's a little bit like the problem in Final Fantasy XIV that, like, certain queues have vastly different duty lengths, which can cause some problems in, like, planning for some players. Like, you might have the time for, like, a, 12-minute or even 15-minute alliance raid, but you might not have the time for a 40-minute alliance raid. But they're in the same queue, technically. Just wanted to test. Ugh.
Light Shaper's War!
Yeah. I really don't like that there's a little gap here that makes you like do a little drop if you walk over it, but it's almost invisible to me. Not a fan. Or it should only choose the capstone if everyone picks it? Well, to be fair, at present, there isn't any punishment for leaving in the queue. So there's technically, like, if you can't do the capstone but everyone else is voting it, your option is to just leave, right? That's not optimal. I'm perfectly aware of that. That's not very optimal. I should have been smarter about that. And not have entered combat immediately. I'll try to stay as far out as possible so that I can quickly grab it. Never mind, I can't do that safely.
Light Shaper's War!
Has a meta crystallized yet? maybe a bit, but not really. Like, not in the sense that you might be thinking of, at least.
Shadows feed. They strike at shadows.
Give me your best shot. Is this supposed to hurt?
Oh, didn't make that.
Light is with us!
Or that. He's not taking the rest that I gave him.
Shadows protect me.
We have too many cases of mobs that are like started but not properly finished.
Just as my visions foretold.
So we're just wasting time and energy. I don't have any more MP.
Stone anchors me, and wind delivers my wrath.
It's time. Rise, beast of endless hate. Rise, undying roar. Rise, look down and show us your fury. Just as my visions foretold.
What is this guy's prophecy? I think death. I think it is that he was waiting for... I don't understand why they left because we weren't gonna time it. They came up eventually. I was guessing they stayed down to see when it was safe to get up. But I don't understand why they left just because they didn't time it. Not timing equals blue gear? That's correct, Rena. But blue gear sell scraps for gold, which you can use to upgrade your gear. So, like, leaving when we're one fight away from getting that loot is, I feel, like a little wasteful. Does res give invuln? I don't think it does. See, Adept says, I tried to check the lore, and apparently this jungle was used to seal a demon called Baphomet at the price of Magia blood, and the Uruk orcs are invading the jungle to free it. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, basically on the meta question, very quickly at the launch of early access, it was determined that Mako was significantly sturdier than Helena among the tanks, which meant that Mako was being used a lot more frequently. Mako had less damage output, so she had more trouble with holding aggro, but that doesn't matter if you have a team that can, like, work around that limitation. Like, if you can pull really big because you have a sturdy tank, then you can maybe cleave a bit more carefully and still do more damage than if you need to pull less because your tank isn't as tanky. I've also been told that Vigour has more, like, scaling potential than Sylvie, but to be perfectly honest, most footage I've seen of people going really high has been on Sylvie. But that could be a coincidence. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then back in the queue, I guess. In the meantime, manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Matthew says they've both done the same highest Sith roll, which is probably the hardest healing boss. Well, there you go. There you go. Let me actually just check the leaderboard. Yeah, Vigour and Sylvie is really close together in highest performance ratings. How much it did for Helena? Well, the thing they specifically buffed was Helena's ability to tank bosses especially. So, if the problem is she blows up to boss damage especially, then they basically pinpoint buffed the exact thing she needed. Now, whether it's enough, that's a different story. The algorithm demon. Demon. The algorithm demon. It might as well be at this point. Rawr. I am the algorithm demon. Feed me likes and clicks and view time. I must consume attention. But yeah, as far as I know, that's also why my perspective on the meta thing is that it seems like all characters are perfectly fine. It's just that, like, as is the case with these kinds of games, you have to play around the weaknesses of whatever character you happen to choose. They can't do everything, so you have to take note of what they can't do, and then either make sure that that doesn't matter, or alternatively, find a way to cover up that weakness. Whether that cover up is, well, someone else in the party has to deal with that, or having an item that can compensate, or whatever, right? I don't know. I don't know. But it is quite telling and very familiar that the role that there is the greatest need for are tanks. A lot of players don't like being, you know, in that basically like sort of leader position. Like, not really, but then again, they don't like being the one that has to choose, and as the tank in Fellowship, you're kind of the one making the moves on what to pull and so on. And I would also say that sometimes as a tank, you can feel a bit helpless. Like, if your healer isn't healing enough, then you straight up can't, like, even if you're a Mako that heals a bunch, you can't do very much. If your damage dealers aren't interrupting or helping where they need to, then it doesn't matter that you have the capacity to do the gigapulls. So I could absolutely see the sequence of events being someone being like, I want to tank. They choose to play tank. They play tank. They get very tired of healers not being able to keep up with them. And out of frustration, they go healer themselves. And then as healer, they get frustrated over, for example, DPS not doing their part. It's also possible the tank would do that. And eventually they end up as a DPS themselves. Like, it's pretty funny that I would say, and I don't have very much, like, data on this, but my impression is that a lot of the time, the DPS that are actually doing, you know, their responsibilities, interrupting, stunning, using their toolkit to the fullest, are more likely to originate from other roles, just being mad that the DPS mains aren't doing it. Similarly, it wouldn't surprise me if a DPS getting frustrated over tanks not pulling enough would become the tank that pulls like a maniac. And they might just get good at it as a result. Like, in a funny twist, possibly the best way for you to get good at a role is to prefer a different one, but get so annoyed that other people are bad at a different role that you go, well, I'll do it myself then. Movement says, that's exactly the reason why I don't really play tank in 14. Really? Mandalorian says they seem fine with choosing when they pull for me. Javi says, it's funny how tanks get put in every team game, but people never like playing it. Well, that's kind of the problem, is that some games, team games, require specific roles for the game to kind of work, right? But, like, some people just don't want to do that. And it's not even just tanks in, like, the MMORPG context. It's just, like, it's funny how a lot of a lot of players like to play these kind of games, but they don't want the responsibility associated with the support roles. Umid says, I can't deal with too much responsibility, and in dungeons you have so many decisions on your plate which I don't like the feeling of. At least in Final Fantasy XIV, as a tank, your choice is pull 2 packs or 1 most of the time. Sally says, Guild Wars 2 tried not having the Holy Trinity outright. The players made it happen anyway, and it officially happened soon after. That's correct. But part of the problem there, I think, is that some stats, like, made you better at taking hits and made you better at, for instance, healing, while other stats made you do damage better. And as it turns out, it is better to have one guy focused on the tanking and one guy focused on the healing, and, for instance, 2 guys focused on the damage, instead of having 4 guys, like, trying to do a little bit of everything. Because then you have to go, like, somewhat even between everything, and then it means you're kind of like at tanking and at healing and at doing damage, instead of being really good at tanking or really good at healing or really good at doing damage, and it makes a huge difference. There's of course the possibility that maybe they could have made it so that you couldn't choose that, but I guess the whole point was that they wanted to give the players the freedom to do whatever they wanted. I'll say, Sally, hope you're doing well. And then always says that's why when I want to PvP I play fighting games. Oh yeah, because it's just 1v1. I could see that. It's something like that, Sally. Something like that. It could also be argued that WoW briefly tried to dabble in the possibility of a less role strict, like, way of play, because when Death Knight was released, it was intended, like, it was designed with the intention that any of the 3 specs could tank. But, you know, one became the prevailing tank for the most part. I wonder if you could remove tanking as a playstyle by removing aggro mechanics. Now auto attacks just AoE and random target mechanics. Well, for instance, Rabbit and Steel, which is like a boss farming roguelike. There is no healer, there's no tank, you just dodge mechanics.
Shaper's War!
Oh, someone actually managed to press it. Fair enough. What game, Javi?
Lightsaber
My
forth!
shield will not break.
It's a game with no tank mechanics. It's called Rabbit and Steel. It's like it's not really an MMO, but you know, it's you know, it's bosses and like roguelike pseudo like RPG mechanics. It could be argued that some of the characters are very similar to Final Fantasy XIV jobs. And they're all cute bunny girls, indeed. Like, quite literally, they are indeed. Oh boy. Oh, someone left. Over that. Then it is not possible anymore. My God! Someone died on the first boss. They got rest, but now I'm just gonna leave. It's no longer possible apparently. Sally says this game definitely needs a leaving penalty. I agree. The problem is that I think they like. I'll actually say in the past week the game has been extremely stable. But I will say it has to be absolutely certain that like the reason you get the leaving penalty is not because the game janked up, but it could really use a little something here. Is the res a relic thing? Yes, it's a relic. It has like a 6-minute cooldown. 5-minute cooldown. And by the way, it reses with no penalties. It just reses the person with like 40% HP or something. A 3-strike system? See, the thing is, I have a feeling, like, hypothetically, if the game was like, well, on your 3rd leave, now you get punished, then the quote-unquote meta would probably be that players would just do a quick play after leaving twice. So, you know, reset it, and then go again. I don't know, I definitely feel like there should be something that prevents someone from just going, there's a chance we're not doing what I want, so I'll just leave. It's a little frustrating. But you know, no one has a res natively, and part of the reason I think, like, a lot of the things you find on relics are specifically abilities and things that you're like, well, if one specific character had this, it would be immensely overpowered, and would definitely cause problems. The same thing where your strikes persist for a day. That could also be a thing. Yeah, I don't know what the correct, like, admittedly, the correct solution when it really comes to it is just make pre-mates, right? Like, genuinely, the Fellowship Discord is very active and has rooms in every single, like, league bracket, you could say, so that you can find people at your level and group up with. So, like, the thing is, the whole point of this stream is that I don't do that. You, like, I guess I should have put a pin up somewhere, but now it's also already getting pretty far into the stream, but, the key thing that I'm not doing on this stream is, like, for instance, joining voice chat to, like, join a group. So part of the point is queuing, right? That's also true. We technically also have an LFG channel, and you are welcome to try and make your fellowship groups in my Discord as well. Allura says this game really needs something like Party Finder LFG. It really needs it natively in the game, yes. But until then, the game actually has kinda that on their Discord. Like, it's better than nothing, right? I'm going to expect that the tank will either leave or wait out the whole timer. Yep, there you go. They were high enough item level to probably desire Hard or Tasari. So, because the two other players, who at least one of them were a little lower, might not be, they don't want to go. Yeah, I understand that, Zav. That's also why I'm saying the game kind of needs this feature in the game in some way or another. Sarah says, in my opinion, if the game offers the option to play with randos, there should also be a solution to people misbehaving. Oh yeah, you can right-click report people. Yuri says, now I'm sad because none of my friends will want to play the Rabbit and Steel. I will say the game is pretty fun solo as well. It's actually a very different experience because many of the mechanics that are in 2, 3, 4 player mode are not there in single player because, well, obviously they can't do a mechanic where it's like, oh, you have to not overlap the spread markers or something when you're the only one there. But yeah, this 100% agree. Hopefully, eventually, there will be an in-game LFG tool. Would probably be a lot better than either having to rely on the Discord or just sit in queue like this. Does say a lot that a healer has this long of queues. Yep, because there's not enough tanks, essentially. My guess on that... This is, again, I don't have data or statistics for this, but my guess, just based on the kind of whims people have been leaving groups over, it wouldn't surprise me if some tanks have just been like table flip, whatever, I'll just play DPS then. After the, like, X time that they start a dungeon, they pull something, but it wasn't what one of the DPS wanted them to pull, so they just leave. I've definitely seen that. Like, someone didn't pull quite enough in the very first pull, someone leaves. That's also why I'm trying to bring the point across that if I wanted to be the one deciding what is being pulled, then I would have been playing tank. Have the DPS been the ones leaving most often? The DPS, in my experience, have been the ones that have been most likely to leave on a dime. But tanks have been likely to leave, especially over specifically DPS not doing a thing, for instance. Was 18 Ali, hope you're doing well. Any hard clears? Technically the first one cleared, but that's it. We had another one where we were the last boss. And I can't remember what went wrong. Oh, right, we were the last boss. We could have made the timer, but something went wrong and we wiped. The main thing I would point out there was that there were a lot of the Chosen that were like hurt down to near death and then just didn't get finished. So that, you know, you'd have wasted the energy of like 95% of a Chosen and then just let it go through anyways, leading to a lot of damage. And then eventually we wiped when I ran out of MP. And when we couldn't time it anymore, one of the DPS left. And then at that point it's no longer possible. And aside from that, we've gotten into Heart of Tosari. Someone died on the first boss to taking a hit they maybe shouldn't have. They got instantly rest by me, and then the other DPS left immediately. And then we've been sat in queue for a long time. We've also done an Empyrean Sands with a tank that... to try and give you a little bit of insight, Cole. The last pull before the boss, where there's like a big mage, 2 melee guys, and 2 ranged guys. I was tanking the 2 ranged guys for the entire pull. We didn't time that one. So, so yeah, not a lot of progress have been made, honestly. I try. The only time I've never been the first to leave. I don't run Sands unless I have a chicken for the mage, because people don't do the pillars. My perspective on this is that I'm going to guess, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that if you went through the trouble of getting a group together in the Discord, even if it's like technically strangers, I feel like people would be more likely to stay unless, you know, someone is absolutely garbage. Like a complete mismatch of players. Otherwise, I have a feeling people would be more likely to, you know, figure things out instead of having to like go out, make new friends. So I don't know, but that's my feeling. But aside from that, Tina Lee, I'm doing alright. I just wish I got to play the game. Wouldn't that be crazy? I don't want to make friends in my social games /s, right? No. I want to play an MMO. I don't want to play with anyone, but I want to play an MMO. Yes, I want to play a team game, but I don't want to play with anyone. Cole says, I really think there isn't a good way to make a PvE game that's challenging and is also fun to PoG. You might be right. The thing that makes it really tough, I think, is that it doesn't matter what you do in this kind of game. You're basically guaranteed to have to, like, to deal with the situation that players of very different expectations and skill levels are going to get matched together. And that's going to happen even with these like league solutions. That eventually the worst players with lower expectations are going to reach Adept, and eventually they're going to try and proc Heart of Osari. There's just a difference that they might be perfectly fine with needing to do the dungeon like 10 times before they actually can time it. While others are like, come on. I did it once. I watched a guide. I know everything. Let's do this. How long have your queues been? 5 to 10 minutes quite a lot of the time. And I'm like, based on what I can see here, it's entirely there are no tanks. Maybe I'll have to switch back to tanking. Just so I can play the game. Because the queues being this long is very surprising to me. I'm guessing that just based on the kind of experience a tank can get, it wouldn't surprise me that those kind of players would be more likely to just get a pre-made. Like, if you're going to be put in the leader position anyways, right? Might as well be able to choose who you're bringing. But yeah, it does make it very difficult, because the amount of responsibility the tanks get, combined with the amount of impact they have in the overarching chance of success in a group, means that a lot of players are afraid of picking tank, whether they want it or not. Similarly, there's also just a lot of players that just enjoy the fireworks of being a DPS instead, and there's probably a lot of players that prefer the, you know, the back row mentality of being a healer. Because I think tanking is probably too hard at low level. It unironically gets easier to tank at high levels until you start really pushing Eternal. Like, tanking just gets easier and easier until Eternal, where it gets hard again. That makes sense. And that's also true, Mandalorian. I have a ridiculous amount of stats still in Adept. They need to make low-level tanking completely idiot-proof. I think that wouldn't help. Cool. Because I think the reason why the difficulty of tanking is almost like it goes like... and then up again is because it increases as your reliance on the rest of your team increases as well, notably the DPS in my opinion. And then it suddenly just nosedives when you reach the exact league like difficulty level where only the DPS and possibly healers that know how to work together survived. Like, the ones that didn't learn that, they didn't progress any further. Like, they're stuck. At least for now. And I think that's it. Because my experience, I feel like my experience when I initially started on Adept as Vigour, and even like Sithral's Fall stuff, was that it was alright with randos. And then as time has progressed, it has gotten worse. Possibly because, like, players that haven't learned these basic skills have reached Adept. Also, I saw Zaf mention, what was it? I still sometimes chuckle when I remember how Elite Dangerous used to be when I complained about lack of any player organization ability in-game. People just said, just go to Reddit to find a group. Woof. Getting your legendary and weapon traits improves your agency over your health bar significantly. That's fair. What I meant by the difficulty based on your team is more that even if you can survive all the damage, you're not gonna make the timer alone. So, even if you have agency over your health, if your team doesn't know how to interrupt, or what to interrupt, or what needs a lot of healing, and so on, then your DPS and your healer are going to die, and then you're there alone. That's kind of what I mean. Bruh. Adept is completely out of healer of tanks, it seems. Like, actually completely out. Guys, can I have the tank for a bit? I also want to play. Can you pass the tank? I'm sure you have one. It's Mom said it was my turn with the one Mako. Oh yeah, I do get that, Cole. That is a fair point. That also in Final Fantasy XIV, weirdly, it starts harder and then it becomes easier in a way. I think I've only seen archers pull once. I mean, Ilarians? For the most part, the only time I've seen anyone, like, ninja pull? Oh, the archer, gravity pull, that's what you meant. I learned of it very quickly, because as we were, like, initially learning the game, I had an Ilarian in my party, which was Aradil, and Aradil was like, oh, I have this ability, then we all checked it out, I was like, oh, that's amazing, and then, like, of course, brain goes, how can we use that? Ilarian's last name being Bow Guy is great. It's a fantastic meme. They should have done that with all the characters. Just all of them having like a completely crazy spelling of something that is like, oh yeah, actually, Vigour's last name is Dwarf Man. DHU apostrophe V ARPH apostrophe MAHN Dwarf Man. Punch Girl. Yeah. That would have been great. But that is a shame. But hey, at least we got a clear of Heart of Tazari, and it was at least good enough. I didn't actually mean to do that. It was good enough that I got some dungeon rating. I can't use it for anything because I need a clear. Wait. I can't use it for anything because I need to clear it to actually get it. Yeah, Dwarfman. Exactly. Exactly. Wait, that is a fair point. That it might be easier to, like, onboard tanks if it was easier to play them at first. But personally, I still believe that the main reason why tanks are not super popular, I feel like is more down to the other aspects. Like, I'm just saying, I got extremely exhausted about people leaving very quickly. Myself, very quickly. Like, after like the second or third time it happened in a row Sunday, I went into the dungeon. I wasn't worried about wiping. I wasn't worried about anything. I knew we could do it. I was worried that someone sneezed in the wrong way and then someone else would leave and then we wouldn't get to play. And if I was playing tank, I would probably be concerned in the same way if people like leave over me pulling weirdly. That I'd just be like, oh, now we have to start over again because Rando Steve didn't like that I pulled that specific pack. However, I will say that in part of the experience of me switching from tank to healer, since then the queue times have gotten very long. I have a feeling that we're reaching out a renaissance where the DPS and the healers may just put up with whatever the tanks are going to do because they actually want to play the game. There's also the possibility that tanks and DPS will switch to tank out of frustration. DPS and healers will switch to tank out of frustration. Zab says, I think when it comes to keeping players in dungeons that are not going super well, it would be better to offer rewards for individual performance or MVP style things or something rather than threatening people with punishments, but I don't know, it's a difficult subject. You think my queue might be bugged? Let me try. It says 2 minutes. It might be bugged. Let's try again. I mean, it also said 2 minutes when it went to 10 minutes last time. I don't know either, Zaf. The problem I feel with rewarding people for doing the thing you want is that I feel like a lot of the time what happens is that players will then weigh the value of that reward and just go, no, I don't actually care. And then just not do the thing anyway. The thing in this case being staying. Whereas the punishment might be more likely to keep players around. Like specifically the 3 strikes system is sometimes very effective. Players would be less likely to leave a group or like a matchmaking like option if they're like, well, you can only leave 3 times and then there's like a punishment. Then you would probably save your, like per day or something, like someone else suggested. Then you'd probably save your leave for, I don't know, when people pick Heart of Tosari, but the tank has 80 item level and is equally confused that they're being offered this. And you're like, that's not gonna happen. And then you scoot that one. But if you leave something that is just, I don't feel like doing this, then you have a problem. Naomi says, this sure feels like a surprise tea time moment, huh? Right? Huh. I've had queues past 5 minutes solo queuing on tank and restarting it insta-pops. It happens sometimes. Yeah, I have heard that that could be a problem. I've also just noted that my queues have been varying lengths. But pretty long, all things considered, all evening. So it going to 20 minutes just means that I'm like, well, I guess there are no tanks. We've got clips in clip review, I think. There are a few, but I don't feel like looking away from the game while I have a queue going. Even if it makes a loud noise when it pops. Ardell says Sylvie is already pretty on the nose since it means from the woods or forest. And she's kind of like a plant fox. But yeah, I'm just saying this, I should be pointing up. This up there, that, and technically it's going on 23 minutes. That would be something that could make me go, you know what, I'll tank, it's fine, I'll do it. However, on this specific stream, I have promised Vigour gameplay, and you might not like it, but this is apparently peak solo queue Adept Vigour gameplay. This is as good as it gets, guys. Amazing, right? It's very intense stuff. But I have a feeling that I might not be playing Vigour tomorrow. Hey Rust, hope you're doing well. Says, do you get kicked if you look away from game during queue? No, in fact, it makes a loud noise. It makes like if it makes it the icon blink in like the Windows bar in the bottom, and you do have like 90 seconds to react, technically. So like there's everything in the world to make sure that you don't miss it. However, I feel like I know it's just funny haha clips and such, but I feel like it's a little disrespectful to the person who like put a clip. If I'm like, well, in between this queue we can quickly do a clip, and then like the moment the queue pops, I'm just like, I don't want to play with you anymore. And if depending on what happens, we just don't finish the clip. Or the person who's the owner of the clip is like, well, I have to go now, so I don't get to see the ending of how you experience it. So I wouldn't want to do that. Sally says, I think I'd be fine with you tanking instead, just to play the game. Good luck, Zaf. I mean, Sally, that's also what I mean, is that if it wasn't for the fact that I promised Vigour, then I would have probably changed something. But tomorrow, I've specifically deliberately made the stream more freeform. For the curious, the way that I had envisioned tomorrow's stream is, well, if it wasn't for the fact that the queues for healer look like this, originally the way that I had envisioned it, that is that I might have just like jumped between characters that I have in contender. Maybe we could like get some people in the chat who's like, I really would like to like reach Adept. Then like maybe we could like have some people have their first experience of clearing Sithral's Fall timed and things like that. Like maybe that, maybe just, you know, me progging a different character. Let me try something. Sometimes stuff like that does something. It's also possible that there's problems with the queuing system, but I don't feel like checking while I'm live. Huh. I am going to guess that the Mara is going to leave. Yep, there you go. Oh, man. Yeah, I think I also was bugged after all, but that is still really funny. But yeah, as I said, the plan tomorrow is more freeform. But I might just play tank a bunch to get that caught up if the problem is actually tanks have way better queues. Because I don't mind tanking. I just felt like it would be better to not be tank. Just IMO. For various reasons. But this is the stalemate we're in. Part of my incentive to switch to healer was also that being the tank, and only the tank, can make it very difficult to understand, like, the healing perspective. So I started playing healer for that. And then I just discovered that I enjoyed playing healer. And it also felt like it was an interesting way to explore new things. Like, getting the dungeons done in various different ways. By simply letting others have the reins. But yeah, I can absolutely see myself hop back on Mako. Man! Are we bugged again? Sylvie, unbug me. Use your voodoo magic. We might not be bugged. The average queue time increased from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. I will say, as I was talking about before, this looks very problematic for the game. Like, if you literally cannot play the game if you're not a tank because there's not enough tanks, that's a problem, because what about the players that don't want to play tank, right? But in a way, it is possible that this might resolve itself. As I said, I get the impression that some of the people that might be interested in tanking are not, because they're scared that people are gonna, you know, complain very quickly or leave over the smallest little thing. But I'm just saying, if no one wants to be the garbage man, and you choose to take the job, then there's a much smaller chance that anyone is going to complain about how you get it done. Because someone's got to do it. Exactly, Bobomet. What I mean is exactly that. That if DPS and healers hypothetically have to sit in 5-10 minute queues or whatever, because there are not enough tanks around, then the DPS and healers are probably more likely to deal with it if a tank isn't like super great. They'll be allowed the space to improve and learn without being chewed out. It's also possible that I specifically happen to be queuing at a time where the queue is bugged, because at the start of this stream we didn't have this many queuing issues, did we?
Hold me back!
Now I'm curious. Now I need to check. Nope. No announcement about queuing issues or anything. Erdl checked. Thank you. What time is it for you now? 8 in the evening. I've solved it. I've cracked the code, guys. Everyone, all the tanks are now unavailable because they had to go back to their MMO of choice. They have raid night. They have to tank for their guild or their static. I have been in a lot of raid teams that started raiding at around 8 in the evening. So that could actually be real. That would be hilarious if true, though. Also, that shack, it's daily reset. For at least, I know for certain, for the EU players it is. For WoW EU players. The tank convention is happening. They'll be back in a few hours. Hey Sly Wolf, hope you're doing well. Welcome to Q, the stream. Is it, yeah, tanks on strike. QC, yeah, pretty much. I believe we've, in the past 30 minutes, we've not been able to get into a dungeon. My guess is that we have no tanks left. As I said before, Mom said it's my turn with the Helena. I will leave the group and try one last time. The reason why I leave is because I believe that I am more flexible as a lone healer than a healer with 2 DPS. There's one tank somewhere. Mom finally just forced it. Yeah, and then Helena said no. Helena didn't want to do, was it Everdawn Grove? Mandalorian says the queue can't match people with similar experience. It can. You actually have... Let me actually just stop the queue to show you. In here, you have the option to forcibly make the game only pair you with like equal, like semi-equally geared players. The problem is that would increase the queue time, so people don't use it. They would rather be paired with a wider array of players and then just say no when they don't get what they want. I agree, Cole. Others also suggested it. Like, genuinely, it would probably help a ton if they just let you queue for the capstone specifically. Because, especially, when people are just queuing and they want the 4s, 5s, and 6s and such, like, they are probably more open to anything in that bracket. While the capstone one is kind of specific. You can't match people with similar experience because it put 1,700 and 2,600 together right now. Haven't seen that before. That could also explain a lot. Naomi says, wouldn't it still result in longer queue times anyway on account of the leaving? Yes. Yes, it would. But you see this in like Final Fantasy 14 as well, that someone will join sometimes will join a party finder group for something that they're not entirely on board with, and then when it turns out that like the team isn't actually exactly what they wanted after all, which they should have known, they leave. You know, that's kind of vague, but like sometimes someone will legit join a prog group expecting a clear and things like that, and then be shocked when they don't get it. But they joined it because they'd rather join that than wait. Oh boy, I will just choose nothing and ready. Yep, I knew it. At this point, you can only laugh. Sometimes it is faster to reprog a group to your prog point than finding a group specifically at your prog point. True. Very true. This is a queue simulator game? Thanks for that, Ilana. So what is this game? Is it like some sort of queue simulator? What is this stuff happening in the background? It's just set dressing. It's all about the queue. The whole point of the game is it's not called Fellowship. It is called Queue Purgatory. Every time the queue finally pops, it doesn't. Like, you reach the end of the queue and they're like, oh, no, you should have been in queue over there. Sorry, no, go over there. And then you see like 3,000 people in the queue over there, and like, just walk over there and wait. And when you finally get through that, they're like, "Oh, we're closed for today. That queue over there, they stay open for an additional hour, but we don't open for the next 8 hours. So you try over there, and you'll see like there's another 3,000 people. You should have just joined that queue all along. But the first guy wasn't very helpful. It's purgatory, not heaven, or anything. You walk over there." But that is incredible. That is actually incredible. Exactly, Sally. So when do we get to the ride? This is the ride. So my expectation is that there are two possibilities. One is that when we're done here, and we might be in a moment, as you can see, I didn't queue again. I will probably just start on tanking or something, because this isn't gonna work. And then, tell you what, if I'm somehow having equally massive problems getting anything done as a tank, you'll probably hear it in the community Discord. Hey! You'll hear from a very, very sad lizard. What did you do today? I did nothing! Nothing! I sat in queue for 4 hours! But on that note, first of all, we are reaching the point where I normally wrap up the stream. Second of all, this is just getting awkward. So I think we will be wrapping up the stream here. And then hopefully I will either figure out something next time, that I do something where I'm specifically playing a particular character, or I guess we'll figure that out. But this is it for tonight. But if you would like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link right there in the chat. There you will find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is happening on the channel in the coming days. I usually update it Sunday or Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put them out. And if you grab the reminder roll in the role assignments room, you'll get a notification whenever I post these things. There's an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when you go live. And if you would like to support this insanity and things like this on the channel, you can, you know, like, subscribe, all that jazz over on YouTube. You can become a member. Over on Twitch, you can follow, you can subscribe. There's the super chats and there's the bits and the all that stuff to support this kind of madness. If you don't like any of those options, there's also a Ko-Fi link that Ariel posted right there in the chat. It all helps support me and the channel directly. Again, this. This. Are you not entertained? You better be entertained. I tried. I really tried. But that'll be it from me tonight. So good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye.